Hello.
Hi, Bari.
Yes. Hi,
Hi,
how are you, Abby?
it's Abby. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk with me.
No problem at all. Let me get to another spot in the house where the cell signal is slightly better. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, I've been sitting in the same chair all morning. Bad plan. So, you are wanting to know about producing sewing patterns? Is that?
Yeah, so I'm doing this series on my blog about ways to sort of turn your hobby into a career and exploring all different avenues from selling patterns, selling individual items, selling at craft fairs, allowing cottage industry licenses, etc. And it occurred to me that one seemingly good way to do this would be to work with a wholesale distributor to sell print patterns. And I don't know anything about that except from, looking at your gorgeous patterns online and looking at some other makers' patterns. But I just was really curious about the ins and outs of the process and sort of learning about how to go about doing this, if that was something I wanted to do or other people wanted to do.
Oh, okay, yeah, I have no problem sharing information.
Okay, awesome.
So,
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your generosity. So I guess my first question would just be sort of what is a wholesale distributor? What do they do, and how did you come to the decision that it was a good idea to work with one or with several?
well, I had been, I produced one pattern to start, and it was very hard to sell it myself. I mean, I had to call stores and then bring it to my local stores and all of that, and so it was a lot of footwork. And so I realized that, me as one little salesperson trying to sell, a product in what is now a sea of products. It's a huge industry. There are so many people producing patterns now. And I realized that the only way I was going to be able to really make a dent was to have somebody else sell them for me. I had been doing finished handbags before that, and it had been suggested me to get a sales rep then, and that would have been beneficial too.
Okay.
So definitely one person compared to an army of people is, you're going to make a huge dent. Now, the only problem with that is then you have to figure out a way to make your costs lower so that you still make a profit, because obviously now you're giving a percentage to a distributor. And the way you do that with printed patterns is you print them in what they call gang printing. So if you're going to do one pattern, you might as well do four, because the difference is probably about half the cost in what you're printing. So what I do is I print 1,000 of each pattern, but I print 4 at a time, and they're the exact same format. And it really does. It cuts the printing costs in about half.
Wow.
And, it really does. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to go to a local color copier. You want to go to a full online printing company, not the web online, but full color online printing.
Okay.
So.
And that's something you find locally, or do you actually do that online?
There's a lot of them
Okay.
that print. You can find them online. There's a lot of them that print.
And what
the full
other
color
out
thing.
of curiosity, like what other kinds of print jobs do those print shops usually produce? Besides, in other words, they're large enough that they can produce 1,000 of each of 4 different patterns for you. And are they, printing books, or what else are those kinds of shops printing, I wonder?
They're printing, a lot of brochures and catalogs and things like that, from my understanding. And it's the professional looking stuff. I mean, you're talking about now you're going to have to go on a color check and that kind of thing. You want to get your proofs back so that your colors match. I mean, they're a lot better. I can't remember exactly all the technical terms for the way it's printed, but it's not color copies.
Right. You want the real deal, because I've seen these patterns in my local quilt shop, and, they are, full color, they're beautiful, they're glossy, they, really look professional, like a book, a pages from a craft book would look. So they definitely don't look, yeah.
And it's what the distributors have now gotten used to also.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to be, and your competition is really, really stiff now. So you want to make sure that everything that you do is as slick as it can possibly be, and you don't want to cut the corners because it'll show.
Right.
It'll really show, because there is just such huge amounts of competition. So you have to really make your product stand out. You have to make the project stand out, and you have to, have photos that are just, beautiful. So you need to make sure that you're getting all the pieces together.
Right, exactly. So once you get your pattern designed, you get it all laid out on your computer, you get your proofs back from the printer, you've taken all your photos, obviously, and all of that part is finished. Then they print it, and do they collate it and assemble it, or what's that step look like?
You can have them do it, or you can do it. I have them collate, fold, and staple, and then I stuff into bags.
Because that seems like 4,000 patterns. That's a lot of collating and stapling and stuffing.
You're not selling all 4,000 patterns all at once.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, what you're going to get orders from distributors in probably groups of 24 to 48, maybe 100 at a time, and then they slowly commit. So what happens is you have to understand that you're not going to make your cash back right away. You have to be in it for the long haul and understand that the more patterns that you produce, the more likely you are to make a profit. So because then they're just going to reorder your old patterns, they're going to order your new patterns, and they're just going to keep going. So you want to make sure that you're in it for the long haul. And you know what? You're not going to get rich off of making patterns.
Off of this or anything else, really?
Or anything else, really. It is just really, I'm not going to say it's a labor of love, because you do have to make money at doing what you're doing. But you also have to, work out the numbers and make sure that you're doing it in a way that's going to make you profitable, and know when it is that you're going to be profitable.
Exactly. So that's interesting to think that, the more you make, if you are willing to wait for several years, the more different patterns you make, the more likely that you are to be profitable, because they're ordering sort of back stock from you as well. And so are all of them stored in your garage? I mean, do you have them all at home, and then when the orders come in, you sell them out, or how does that work?
You should see my dining room. I mean, when we had our house, we're currently living at my parents' house, so I've got boxes in their garage and boxes in my mom's den. I mean, so they're kind of everywhere. And there's also boxes in storage, because obviously I have now 16 patterns out. So I wasn't going to bring boxes of patterns. Now, some of them I'm almost out of and need to get towards reprinting. But so I started with the sewing patterns 2 years ago this spring. So now I'm finally starting to run out of the originals and getting towards to where I can print those. And some, frankly, are duds.
Well, I mean, that's just the way. That's part of life. I mean, of course, not everything is brilliant.
And you do learn that, which ones are going to sell. So, I mean, you want to ask as many people as you possibly can for their very utmost, I didn't lose you, did I?
No.
Okay, for their very most honest opinion.
Right.
And I think that the feedback is really critical, because I could tell you that the ones that I didn't get the feedback on are the ones that are, duds.
It's hard. It's hard as a designer to get that distance from it, because you work on it so hard and you really love it, and that doesn't necessarily mean that most other people will too. So, honestly,
and what I think is hilarious is the ones that I've thought, oh God, why would you want a pattern for that? That'll never sell. Oh my gosh, my kitchen art pattern, which is a pot holder and an oven mitt. it's my biggest seller.
That's funny.
So, and
I
well,
see
you know,
it
it
here.
includes directions for the collage that I do, and so it's a different kind of oven mitt and pot holder, but it's an oven mitt and a pot holder. So it's always surprising to see which ones are going to be the best ones.
Right. So that one incorporates a pretty unique collage technique that you've come up with, and so maybe that's what's drawing people in, or maybe they also feel like that combined with a fairly simple shape. Who knows? You know, it's
who knows what it is.
Who knows what it is? Exactly.
I am assuming that it's the extra instructions, and that's the other thing is that I always try to do the added value. So if I'm going to do, you know, just a handbag, I always want to make sure that there's extra tips, extra hints, great color, you know, whatever it is. I want something extra in every pattern, whether I throw in, you know, a fabric flower or whatever it is. There's got to be that added value to me.
You know, it
That's
reminds
what
me.
Me to buy.
Right. It reminds me of ordering at a restaurant. I often pick the entree because I like the side, and I think that's probably a similar thing.
And I think the other thing is it's like magazines. You pick them up because the cover is glossy and beautiful and you want it. You just go, I want this magazine. So I think that that's the important thing, that it has to have that immediate, like, ooh, to the cover of your pattern.
Because often for people,
I know the distributors are really fussy about that now.
They're fussy about the cover.
Yep, they really want your cover to be beautiful. And it really is. It's the competition. You have a lot of competition out there.
Right. So it sounds like you can work with more than one distributor at once, and that's not a conflict for them. It's not like an exclusive relationship at all.
No.
Okay.
No, you can definitely do that.
Okay. And then
they sort of work different markets in different parts of the country, to my understanding.
Okay.
But you know, I'm not entirely positive. I don't think it's brought down my sales to have more distributors than just one.
Okay. And can you still sell those same patterns as a PDF directly to customers, or is that a no-no?
I think that's always been kind of a question since the PDF started. But I think they're starting to find that the PDF customer is not the same customer as the print customer. So I haven't heard anything from a distributor yet to say one way or another, no or yes. And I don't know if you maybe don't want to write this person, but I mean, I didn't ask them either.
Okay.
Because you know what, it's my business. But I also have no patterns that are printed that are PDF patterns currently. But I know a lot of people do. So
yeah,
I'm not seeing where it's, a huge problem. And I did talk to C&T about it at one point because, they have pattern spots.
Right.
And they sell books, hard books. And I think that they are really feeling, and I don't know this for sure, so don't quote me, that it's a different market.
Yeah, and I did hear from Simplicity. I just recently signed a licensing deal with Simplicity, and when I talked with them, they said they feel that their print customers are different from my PDF download online customers, and there's not a conflict for them.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know, because I was just kind of winging it.
I know, but I think we all are. I think this is new territory. It's new territory for them, and it's certainly new territory just generally, so we'll have to see how it shakes out. But I think for right now, that seems to be the general feeling. So I would not be surprised if that's the same feeling that distributors had as well. So when you print your, one last question about when you print your patterns, do you need like a barcode or a UPC code, and how do you go about getting one of those?
You do. Now, there are a lot of what are labeled resellers of UPC codes online, but that's really not the legal way to do it, is to buy one at a time. In fact, when you buy a UPC license, it's through a company called GS1, and they, the dog, one sec. And I don't know if it's a company or it's just like a centralized thing. You have to look at the GS1 website. And what they do is they assign numbers to everybody. So you buy yours and you renew it yearly. It's a large upfront cost. I think mine was about $500. It depends on how many you're planning on printing. And it is really the regulated way to do it. If you buy them from resellers, you don't have a number that's unique to you.
Okay. Okay.
And
so,
on the contract that you get when you buy your number, it says that you're not allowed to resell it. So I didn't, from my understanding, I couldn't figure out whether or not it was kosher even to buy the resold ones.
Right.
I know a lot of people do, but I'm not positive that it's legal or, or whatever that would be.
Right. Okay. Interesting. That's a whole side of this I had not thought at all about. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind as far as an upfront cost. Because you certainly want to do it the right way.
Some of the distributors require them and some of them don't. But in my opinion, I think you're going to be taken more seriously if you do make that investment and do make them professional and able to be tracked and all of that kind of thing.
I would agree with you. So if you were a designer who was interested in pursuing this, how would you reach out to distributors? Is there a contact page on their website? Do you just call them?
I just called.
Okay.
And I found contacts, said who's the contact to send, that buys patterns. And then you can just ask for their email and send them an email with a PDF of the cover of your patterns.
Okay.
Introduce yourself. You really have to sell your story too.
Right.
Why is it that you're a popular designer? Why is it that people are buying your patterns, and why would they buy them over somebody else? I mean,
right.
You have to really sell it.
Right. Of course. And I think that that's important for whatever next step you pursue in sort of professionalizing your business. You do need to, number one, put your best face forward, and number two, be afraid to sort of toot your own horn and say, this is something you need and you want, and will work for you, will do well for you,
Yeah. And the other thing is, oh my gosh, don't go in if you don't have a blog. Don't go in and say, because that is the way people are finding everything. And so you have to make sure that your online presence is big.
Yeah. And that's a huge selling point, I think. And something that we have that they need, So it's an audience,
Exactly.
Okay, so tell me, the distributor takes a percentage of the wholesale price, and then is there a typical, so what is that typical percentage like, and then what is the typical markup from wholesale to retail, on a pattern like this, on a printed pattern?
I can tell you what it is generally in retail, but when I was selling the handbags, how it worked was I would mark up my costs and my and my labor. I'd mark that up 100%. So say it cost me $200 to make, I'd sell it for $4 wholesale. Now distributors take 30% of that profit. So you want to make sure that you either have a built-in 30% or you have enough margin in the way you've produced it, so you've produced it for such a low cost that you are able to put in enough for that distributor.
Right. Okay.
You've got to find that 30% somewhere.
Right.
So.
Okay. So I'm just trying to think about this in sort of concrete terms. If the distributor is selling the pattern to in their wholesale catalog to sewing stores. So what would be like a price that they would put on that? Like $7, $10, $15?
They would put what your wholesale price was.
Okay. So let's say $10.
Right.
And then they're going to take 30%.
Right.
Okay. So then they're going to take $3
but they pay you up front. When they order the patterns, they pay you up front. So
that's nice.
say my pattern is $4.50. I think it comes out to like $3.85. You'll have to do the math. But something to that effect. Or I think my no, it's the $5 patterns are $3.85 or something to that effect. I'm not doing the math properly, but it's 30%. And so I tell them, okay, my wholesale price is this, so yours is obviously 30% off.
Right. Okay.
And then they go in and they put it in their catalog for the public to buy at that $6 or whatever it was.
And then those catalogs get mailed out to all the different online and brick and mortar shops who then place orders, and then the wholesale distributor fills those orders with what they've already paid up front and purchased from you.
Yeah. Or sometimes I think some of them go out and they get orders and then they order from you.
Okay.
Okay. And a lot of that apparently happens at Quilt Market.
That was my next and sort of final question was about Quilt Market. So I know you have these two beautiful fabric lines, one of them coming out soon, and you also have all of these beautiful patterns. So I can understand why it would be important for you as a designer to go to Quilt Market. But for a person who, let's say, is starting back when you had your first pattern, maybe before your fabric lines, should a person like that go to Quilt Market? Is that an appropriate trade show for them? Or are there other,
I think you have to do the math. So how many patterns do you think you need in order to make your booth profitable? How many people need to order that market or aftermarket for you to make a profit? But here's the problem. And why I send people to distributors. I cannot tell how many people came to my booth, saw my patterns, and then turned around and went to the distributor and purchased them.
Right.
They like to buy from the distributors because they can buy all of their stuff in one place. They don't have to buy, from, Joe Schmo pattern maker and ABC pattern maker, and they can buy them all in one place and have one bill.
Right.
And it's easier for them to track. It's a lot easier for stores, and it's a lot easier for us too because we just ship to the distributor, and we're done.
Right. So having that sort of clearinghouse middleman is really easier for everybody. Right. And so who knows how many people are sort of seeing you and getting exposed to your patterns and seeing them for the first time, being attracted, and then later placing orders with their distributors. There's no way for you to know that.
There really isn't any way for me to know it. And frankly, I personally didn't take that many orders in my booth. And I prefer they go to the distributors. So I tell them to go to the distributors.
Right.
I mean, I tell them you're welcome to order from me if you like, or, take it from the show. I don't think you're even allowed to do cash and carry though. But you're welcome to order from me, but, if you have a distributor you like to use, please order from them.
So even though the distributor is taking that 30%, it's just so worth it for you as far as ease.
Well, as far as ease and it's just I know that they're going to outsell me 10 to 1.
Right.
So I might as well send everybody to them. It makes them happy. It makes them want to sell my things more, and it makes me happy.
Right.
So it really just works out for everybody.
Right.
So I think the thing about Quilt Market would be, I would just highly suggest if you're going to spend the money to do it, because it's a huge undertaking, to do it well, is make an impact. Don't go and just set up a booth and, try to throw out your patterns and think that you're going to make an impact. You have to put on the slick.
Right. If you're going to go big.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, I was just reading something recently about trade shows, and I think it was about South by Southwest, which is not quite the same thing as Quilt Market, but it's sort of similar in that, people are there, they're presenting, and in order to get noticed, one of the things they said is you need to go more than 1 year in a row. You need to go several years in a row, and you need to really do it up and do it up big in order to get noticed. Yeah,
you really do. I mean, you're in a sea of people doing the same thing you're doing.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you again for sharing so much wonderful information. And I in my experience, I've really almost never seen this kind of information shared anywhere online. I think it's difficult to get an honest opinion from someone who's really in the business and really, working to make this into a career that they can, feel happy with. And so I just think it's so valuable to share that kind of information. So thank you.
No problem at all. And if you need anything else, just let me know.
I will. Okay, keep in touch.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bari. Bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.